You know there's a moment in every human life when you realize something powerful, something that can change the entire direction of your destiny. It's the moment you understand that your emotions, those storms inside you, aren't here to control you, they're here to serve you. And when you finally stop running from them and start mastering them, everything changes. Your relationships shift, your confidence rises, your decisions sharpen, your life expands. Emotional mastery is not about suppressing what you feel. It's about stepping into the driver's seat of your own internal world so you can create the life you were born for. Most people spend their entire lives reacting. Reacting to stress, reacting to fear, reacting to old wounds they've never healed, and they wonder why nothing changes. They wonder why they keep repeating the same patterns, the same arguments, the same disappointments. It's because they've given the steering wheel of their life to whatever emotion shows up that day. But you're here because a part of you is done with that. A part of you is ready to rise above, to recognize that emotions are not commands, they're messages, they're signals. And when you learn to listen with intention instead of reacting with impulse, you take back your power. Listen to me. Every emotion you've ever felt had a purpose, even the painful ones, especially the painful ones. Fear was designed to protect you. Anger was designed to move you. Sadness was designed to make you reflect. But when you let those emotions run wild without direction, they don't protect you, they limit you. Emotional mastery is about stepping into the space between what you feel and what you choose. It's in that space where your freedom lives. It's in that space where you decide the meaning of your experiences instead of letting your experiences define you. Think about it. When you were at your strongest in life, was it because everything was easy? Or was it because you faced something hard and refused to let it break you? That strength came from a decision, a choice, a moment where you said, I'm not going to let this emotion dictate my life. That was emotional mastery, even if you didn't know it at the time. You chose the emotion instead of letting the emotion choose you. You want to transform your life. Start by transforming the meaning you give your emotions. That anxiety you feel isn't proof that something is wrong. It's energy waiting to be directed. That anger isn't destructive. It's passion without guidance. That sadness isn't weakness. It's a signal that something matters deeply to you. When you shift the meaning, you shift your life. Because your emotions follow your focus, and your focus creates your reality. Most people wait for emotional certainty before they take action. They wait to feel ready. But readiness is not an emotion. It's a decision. You don't master your emotions by waiting for peace. You master them by acting in alignment with who you want to become, not what you feel in the moment. You break the loop. You interrupt the pattern. You take your life back. And hear me, you're not here by accident. Something in you is hungry. Something in you is tired of being controlled by old stories, old triggers, old emotional habits that no longer serve who you are becoming. You have a deeper level inside you, a level of emotional strength that you haven't even touched yet. And when you access it, when you train it, when you choose to raise your emotional standards, well, you don't just survive life, you shape it. You have the ability right now to decide that your emotions will be your allies, not your captors. That you will use them as fuel, not obstacles. That you will lead your emotions instead of being led by them. And when you do that, when you step into that power, your world opens up in ways you cannot imagine, because emotional mastery isn't just a skill. It's a transformation. It's the moment you reclaim the pen and rewrite the story of your life with intention, clarity, and unstoppable purpose. Emotional mastery begins the moment you choose to lead your emotions instead of being led by them. Most people spend their entire lives believing their emotions are automatic forces they have no control over, as if their feelings are the weather and they're just standing in the rain hoping it passes. But the truth is, emotional mastery is a decision long before it ever becomes a skill. It starts the moment you realize that what you feel is real, but it's not final. What you feel is powerful, but it's not permanent. And what you feel is valid, but it's not the boss of your life. You are. When you choose to lead your emotions, you're making the decision to step into a different identity. You're choosing to be the creator of your internal world instead of the captive of it. You're choosing awareness, presence, and responsibility instead of instinctive reaction. That choice may happen in a single second, but its impact ripples through every part of your life. You feel the shift the moment you say to yourself, I might feel anger right now, but I'm not going to let anger drive the car. I might feel fear right now, but fear doesn't get to choose my next step. I might feel overwhelmed, but overwhelm doesn't get to decide my destiny. The instant you separate who you are from what you feel, you gain the leverage to lead. Emotions are powerful, but they are also patterned. They follow habits, memories, triggers, and meanings you've carried for years. When you don't lead them, they recycle your past into your present. They make you relive the same emotional cycles over and over. You feel frustration because you've always reacted that way. You feel doubt because your old story still has the microphone. You feel fear because fear knows the script better than you do. Emotional mastery begins when you interrupt those patterns, when you pause long enough to choose the next emotional step instead of falling into the old one. That pause is the doorway. That awareness is the leverage. That decision is the turning point. Leading your emotions doesn't mean you suppress them. It doesn't mean you pretend you don't feel them. It means you acknowledge them fully while still choosing your behavior intentionally. You say, I feel this, but I'm bigger than this. You experience the emotion without surrendering control to it. Anger rises, but you breathe deeper. Fear whispers, but you step forward anyway. Sadness surfaces, but you stay grounded in your values. You lead yourself the way a strong coach leads a team with certainty, compassion, and direction. You don't shame the emotion, you guide it. You don't ignore it, you channel it. And here's the truth. When you lead your emotions, you also transform your relationship with yourself. You start trusting your ability to handle life. You stop seeing emotions as threats and start seeing them as tools. You stop fearing intensity and start utilizing it. Every emotion carries energy, and energy can be directed. Anger becomes determination. Fear becomes focus. Doubt becomes self-inquiry. Sadness becomes depth. Excitement becomes momentum. The moment you choose to lead your emotions is the moment you reclaim access to all that internal power that was always there but misdirected. Leading your emotions requires practice. It requires self-awareness. It requires the courage to be honest with yourself about what you're feeling and why. It requires stepping out of autopilot and becoming conscious of the meaning you're assigning every experience. It requires choosing your emotional response based on the person you're becoming, not the habits you've inherited. But every time you do it, even in the smallest moment, you strengthen that emotional muscle. You build the identity of someone who does not crumble in storms, but becomes more focused. Someone who does not run from discomfort, but uses it as a signal. Someone who doesn't get hijacked by impulses, but moves with intention. When you decide to lead your emotions, you step into a life where you are no longer tossed around by every fluctuation of feeling. You step into stability. You step into clarity. You step into a version of yourself that is grounded, powerful, responsive, and deeply aligned with your highest potential. Because emotional mastery doesn't happen when you feel strong. It happens when you feel challenged and still choose strength. It happens the moment you say, I lead my emotions. They don't lead me. You transform your life by changing the meaning you attach to your emotions, turning every feeling into fuel for growth. Every emotion you experience begins with interpretation. It begins with the meaning your mind assigns to an event, a memory, a conversation, or even a single thought. Two people can live through the same situation and walk away with completely different emotional realities, not because the situation was different, but because the meaning they gave it was different. That meaning becomes the lens through which you feel, react, and ultimately live. When you start consciously choosing those meanings, instead of letting old patterns choose for you, your emotional world begins to shift in powerful ways. So many people believe emotions simply happen to them. They think anger shows up because something unfair occurred. They think sadness appears because they lost something important. They think fear rises because something dangerous is ahead. But the truth is, the emotion doesn't come from the event itself. It comes from the meaning the mind attaches to it. If you assign the meaning, I'm not enough, you will feel shame. If you assign the meaning, this always happens to me, you will feel hopeless. If you assign the meaning, something terrible is coming, you will feel fear. Change the meaning, and the emotional experience changes instantly. This is the secret most people never discover. They try to change their emotions by fighting them, suppressing them, or distracting themselves from them. But real transformation happens when you go deeper, when you go to the root, not the symptom. When you ask yourself, what meaning am I giving this moment? What story am I telling myself right now? What interpretation is shaping the way I feel? Because the story is what generates the emotion. And when you rewrite the story, you reclaim the ability to steer your emotional life with intention and clarity. When you experience fear, you can give it the meaning, I'm in danger, or you can give it the meaning, I'm being challenged to grow. The fear is the same, but the movement inside you is completely different. One meaning paralyzes you, the other meaning energizes you. When you feel sadness, you can interpret it as, I've lost something forever, or you can interpret it as, I care deeply, and that depth is a gift. The sadness is the same, but the direction it pushes you is dramatically different. When you feel anger, you can give it the meaning, I'm being disrespected, or this is my chance to set a boundary. That shift changes everything. Changing meaning doesn't mean lying to yourself or pretending everything is perfect. It means choosing the interpretation that empowers you instead of the one that diminishes you. It means reminding yourself that you have authority over your internal world. It means seeing emotions not as obstacles in your way, but as guides pointing toward what matters, what needs healing, what needs action, and what needs change. When you consciously choose empowering meanings, emotions that once felt overwhelming begin to turn into strength. Anger becomes clarity about what you value. Fear becomes awareness of what you're ready to face. Stress becomes the signal that you're growing beyond your comfort zone. Doubt becomes the invitation to build a stronger identity. Every emotion contains energy, and energy can be directed toward destruction or transformation. The meaning you attach determines the direction. Think of the most powerful people you admire: leaders, creators, visionaries, athletes, change makers. It's not that they don't feel fear, frustration, pain, or uncertainty. They feel it all. The difference is they don't attach meanings that trap them. They don't see fear as a stop sign. They don't see failure as proof of inadequacy. They don't see setbacks as personal attacks. They assign empowering meanings, meanings that push them forward, that make them stronger, that remind them who they want to become. That is emotional mastery through meaning. When you shift your meanings, something else shifts your identity. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of your emotions and start seeing yourself as the architect of your inner world. You realize you don't have to wait for circumstances to become easier before you feel stronger. You don't have to wait for people to change before you feel peace. You don't have to wait for perfect conditions before you feel empowered. You can create those emotional states from within by choosing meanings that align with the life you want to build, not the limitations you've lived with. Every emotion becomes a message, a teacher, a doorway. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to interpret your experience in a way that strengthens you instead of shrinking you. Once you understand that meaning is the source of emotional power, you begin to reclaim authority over every part of your internal world. You tap into a new level of emotional intelligence, a new level of resilience, a new level of inner freedom that cannot be taken from you because it was built by you.